Well, welcome everybody. This is Undisputed with Clay and Brenton, where pretty much everything we say can and maybe will be disputed. Let us know with your comments below what you think of these episodes. We have a lot of fun making them. We realized it's really hard to make picks for races when we're getting paid for it. Yeah, or we're posting it online for people to comment publicly. But speaking of that, we have the Clash coming up, and that has been such a vital role to the start of the NASCAR season. And with that coming up, we're going to be sharing some of our picks with you guys. But first, we wanted to kind of touch base on kind of why we think it's important and the memories behind it. So, Clay, what is one of your favorite memories of the Clash?
Well, I've always loved the Clash ever since I've been, watching NASCAR. Obviously, it was the Bud Shootout when I first started watching, and it's such a fun race to watch every year because there's no points on the line. They're not your Daytona 500 cars. You just get out there, you run hard, and hope to take home the trophy and lots of money. So kind of like a lot like the All-Star races, but at Daytona, which is awesome. So it's always a fun race to watch. It's short, so it's typically action packed. But yeah, over the last couple decades of watching NASCAR, by far my favorite Bud Shootout race was the 2012 Bud Shootout, when Kyle Busch won and beat Tony Stewart by about 1 or 2/100ths of a second.
Yeah,
it was the days of the fading car of tomorrow. In the two-car tandem was being run a lot at Daytona, and Kyle, who had an awful night, really. He crashed twice. His car was destroyed, and he restarted 8th. Granted, there were only 10 cars left, but he restarted 8th on the final restart of the race, which was a green-white checkered. And with 2 to go, he started 8th, and by the white flag, he was already in 2nd, and it pushed Tony Stewart to the lead. And by the time they came to the line, he timed that slingshot perfect and went on around Tony Stewart. We actually have a clip of it here to show you, which really kind of highlights all the cool things that happened during that race. So take a look.
They are getting ready to kick off the 2012 season with a good old-fashioned shootout.
This race is fast and it's unpredictable.
Now, boys, let's get 2012 started right. Let's do this. My first day. Gotta excuse all the questions here. I'll learn. Let's make it happen this year. Let's have a lot of fun this season. Let's rack up a lot of W's. That's what it's all about.
Folks, you ain't seen nothing yet.
They come to the line. The green is waving at Daytona.
Looks like they want to wreck. They're trying. I agree with you.
Trouble turn 2. No. 5, 6 cars in it.
To roll right up through here, we're going to be right into it. Stop right there, dude. You're on fire, man.
The dreaded consequence of pack racing is the big one.
That's why the 500 is going to be single file riding around in the back. So you think everybody will show out now?
Green flag.
All right, man. Get dicey up here. Just be on your toes.
Here we go. Busch hit deep. Oh, and he almost saved it, and he did.
Phenomenal save, buddy. Phenomenal. That was a badass save right there.
Trouble turn 2.
Right in front of you. Back it down. Hey, you're on fire, Kevin.
Whoa, Busch is around. Can he save it this time?
Stay down.
Jack Gordon's upside down.
Unbelievable. Hey, I'm the 24 just slipped. You alright, bud? Yeah, no fun. Gonna need to have a conversation with that one after the race. Now we're down to about 10 cars without damage.
As we get set to go back to green for a green-white checker finish.
Green flag. I got something dragging now, and a tire rub. Can't really tell on that team, but obviously not affecting them.
1 lap to go, and Busch pushes Stewart to the lead.
Remember, he'll try to beat you when he gets over here.
1 mile to the finish line of the Budweiser shootout.
Get a good side thrust.
Smoke versus Wild Thing to the line. He got it! He got it! Wild Thing wins! He got it!
Yes, victory lane. Job, guys. Nice job, guys. Woo!
So as you can see, that was a wild race. I mean, Jeff Gordon flipping, and
that was amazing.
Kyle Busch almost crashing twice and still coming home with the win. You could hear on the radio he was not happy with his car the entire race, but the thing must have had one heck of an engine in it because it could not be stopped.
No.
So,
no, not at all. And that's my man. Kyle Busch is my man. So
that's why he's a lot of people's man, because he's one heck of a driver.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in Tony Stewart's head for like 2 seconds just to think, I just led the last 2 laps of, a race at Daytona, and I'm standing here second. That's gotta suck.
Yeah. Luckily, they weren't teammates at that time, because I think like a couple of years prior to that, they probably would have been teammates, and that probably wouldn't have gone over well.
Probably not. So, Brenton, you've been watching NASCAR for a long time, too. Any particular memories that stand out of the Bud Shootout, Sprint Unlimited, or Clash?
So, for me, it's one of those events where I like the fact, like you said, they all race, the ones who are in it, and there's no real pressure. It's right. You go out and you just try to win, and that to me is awesome. I will have to say, I've looked back over some of the past winners and stuff. Nothing's completely sparked my mind when I was thinking through it, but I do remember the fact that looking through the past winners, noticing how Dale Earnhardt Jr. had won this a couple of times, and being able to see how somebody like that can capture some momentum and then it just doesn't quite roll out throughout the year. Somebody like Denny Hamlin, who does the same thing, who's won it multiple times over the last 10 years, can go out and win it and then just cannot capitalize on the momentum the rest of the year. I saw a list 3 years ago. It was Matt Kenseth, who he was on fire that year, but it just kind of fell off throughout the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it's almost one of those, I think, omen races type thing where you kind of wonder if winning it is either worth it or do you want to do it?
Well, Brenton, there for a long while, I was starting to wonder if the Daytona 500 winner, themselves had a curse for winning that race, because when you look back at the winners of the Daytona 500, you have people like Ward Burton, Trevor Bayne.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Kenseth in 2012, Kevin Harvick in 2007, McMurray in 2010. I mean, those were all drivers that went on to have winless seasons.
Yes.
If they did win, it was only one other one, and they had a terrible season. It wasn't until 2013, when Jimmy Johnson won the Daytona 500 and went on to win the championship, that I can ever remember a driver that had a good season, a really good season after winning the Daytona 500.
Yes, and that I think is the biggest difference between running Daytona and running a place like Talladega. Is Talladega, you can win and still be good the rest of the season. This Daytona 500, maybe it's because of the provenance, the name, the legacy. I don't know, but you're right. It is one of those races where it's you win it once and you don't really win the rest of the season, just like our buddy Austin Dillon did last year. So it's...
You saw how well he did last year.
Yeah, he got all the way to the end. Why? Well, not actually all the way to the end, but he got all the way to the 16 because he won the first race. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I like the fact that there are multiple winners for this race. I like the fact that it's an underdog type of race, which is why I think it's going to be so much fun to hear your picks and to hear our picks for for this race. So you came up with some categories. Let's hear what you got for the categories, and let's start naming our drivers.
Well, since Daytona is such a wild card track, like Talladega, it's hard to just go in there and say, I think Kevin Harvick's going to be the man this weekend, or I think Kyle Larson's got it. There's 20 drivers and 19 of them can win.
Yeah.
So, kind of looking at the entry list, I went ahead and compiled, like you said, a couple categories. And, I think obviously there's only going to be one winner. So we've got our winner. I think there's going to be several drivers that are in the hunt but aren't going to be able to quite, seal the deal. You're going to have your surprise losers, people that are really good and typically are, spectacular week in and week out, that are going to, really fumble bad on Sunday afternoon. And then, of course, this is the reason why we watch a race. Who are we rooting for? Who am I rooting for? So, starting for the who am I rooting for, coming off an absolutely terrible season last year, I never thought I'd say this. I never thought I'd ever root for him. But I would love to see Jimmy Johnson get back in victory lane.
Very nice.
He was
nice.
Horrible last year. And, new crew chief, new sponsor, kind of a fresh start for an old guy. So I would love to see Jimmy kind of turn things around, be Jimmy again, be the GOAT that he was. Surprise losers. Keselowski won this thing last year, Logano the year before. Martin Truex Jr. is always well. But, Daytona seems to strike those that you least expect. I see Brad Keselowski exiting the race early in a wreck. I see Logano struggling throughout the race, just not getting the car where he needs it. Not necessarily being caught up in the big one or anything, but just not really being a contender in the race.
Sure.
And, Martin Truex Jr., he's a lot like Kyle Larson or, any other guy like that. Good among half tracks, plate races, average at best. I see him getting caught up in a wreck at some point during the race. In the hunt, looking at the results from some of our recent plate races, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick's there every week. He's always going to be a given that he's in the hunt. I see Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin being pretty much at the front of the pack all day on Sunday.
Okay.
I think they're going to come up short. I think they're going to get past. And really, I think this race is going to be won by the person that puts themselves in the position at the end of the race and is able to block well and, keep people like Kevin Harvick or Chase Elliott or, particularly Denny Hamlin. Denny's won this thing a lot. So he's pretty good. He's good at this race. So you're going to have to really, keep him in your rear view. Person I think can do that. He came off a Daytona win last summer. He's been good. He's got 1 year under his belt with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think he's going to be really strong this year, and he's going to kick off 2019 with a win. Eric Jones is going to find himself in victory lane on Sunday afternoon.
Nice. I like your logic.
Hit me. What do you got?
All right. So that was a great... I wish I had thought about yours for the winner because of all the things we talked about, but we'll get to that when I get mine. So who am I rooting for? I love to root for this guy. I do not know why. It's probably completely illogical, but Paul Menard is the guy who I'm rooting for. I
would have bet money on that you'd pick Paul Menard.
Yeah, I'm predictable, right? Like that dude is just somebody I would love to see win.
If you keep picking Paul Menard, he's gonna see this at some point and invite you to a race.
That would be fantastic. I would totally be down for that. And whatever sponsor he's got, I'm the Menards or whatever he's got, I'm down. It would be cool. I'm from Ohio, kind of up where he's from anyway. So let's make that happen. Paul Menard, I'm rooting for you, buddy. So, surprise losers. The fact that it was multiple made me think of two. And the surprising fact was the fact of, I'm not going to pick somebody who I know would probably just not win. That's not a surprise. As much as I hate to say it, the surprise to me who, if they did lose, that would shock me the most is Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick. Those would surprise me if they did not do well on Sunday, because they always perform. I know Chase is still a little young, but he's got a couple years into this. He won 3 last year. He's totally proven that he can do this. So it would surprise me if he didn't come out and perform and get in at least a top 5 in this thing, if not win it. So I put him in there along with Kevin Harvick, because Kevin Harvick has been very good at this race. That it would surprise me if they didn't do well. In the hunt, as much as I like the Joe Gibbs family, but this driver never really just tickles my fancy in any way. I just appreciate that he's on the Joe Gibbs team as Denny Hamlin. I think he is in the hunt. He has proven that he can win this race many, many times. And to say the fact that if he's not in the hunt would be silly to me, because it also would mean that if you win it, you might not have the greatest season, which again seems to be the thing. So that would make sense of why you picked Eric Jones, which was brilliant. I should have thought of that, because my pick for the winner, and I hope it doesn't follow the same curse of winners if he does win, I don't know, is Eric Almirola. I think looking at the manufacturers, looking at the momentum, looking at somebody who could pull this off, who showed that they could win at Talladega last year, Eric can pull off winning at a plate race, and that is definitely somebody I could see winning this thing. So I just hope that he can carry the momentum throughout the rest of the year, because he seems too cool and too good not to be able to win more. So
right. I think Eric's a solid pick. He's won 2 Talladega races. He's won at Daytona before. Actually, he's won 2 Daytona races and 1 Talladega. I had that backwards. But he's always a solid pick when it comes to plate races. But he's not really a plate driver. I mean, remember 500 last year? He basically turned himself right in the wall trying to block Austin Dillon. He's good, but he's not Dale Jr. good. So it makes it difficult to pick somebody for this race, because at any lap they could be swallowed up in a crash, and our whole pick could be totally blown out of the water. But if you have to go with somebody, I think Eric's a good solid pick. I don't really see him winning, but Daytona fools everybody.
It does, and this is just a clash. This isn't. Exactly. We're not even picking for the 500 yet. So we both have an Eric. Mine just has an A. Yours has an E.
He has an E.
And I mean, either way, if an Eric ends up in the winner's circle, we'll half right.
Just ignore the spelling.
Exactly. No, yeah, you're right though. I mean, he's not exactly a plate racer, but it's going to depend on the aero package, because he drafted last year at Talladega to pull up in those positions, and if they are trying to limit that this year with the aero package, then this could not end well for a lot of drivers who utilize that type of skill to get around other cars, or to push, like we saw in your favorite clip of Kyle pushing Stewart all the way to the front. That might not happen anymore, so it might.
Right.
The results might be very different from what we're used to.
That brings up a great point, because there were, like we talked about last week, nobody really talked about it in the off season, but there were quite a few major rule changes over the off season that are really going to change the way that the cars drive and handle, and could ultimately alter the style of racing that we've seen in the past. So I think it's going to be fun and kind of important for us going forward in our picks to watch the practice sessions, particularly for the class this weekend. To see how the cars handle in the draft, see if they draft better than they used to, worse maybe. See if the slingshot works, see who works well with each other. Just because a person does well in practice or qualifying is absolutely no guarantee they're going to do well in the race. But you can usually gather a lot of insight on who is good. Practice and ultimately how they're going to perform on Sunday. So you can bet I'm going to be watching a lot of FS1 this weekend.
Yeah. So that's it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
So that's what we've got this week on Undisputed with Clay and Brenton. We've got our picks. We're looking forward to it. We're going to strategize a lot this year because it's going to be fun. Because like Clay said, it's going to be interesting with all these rules. It's going to be important to pay attention to a lot of different things because the sport is on rocky road, and it's going to be a fun ride, at least for us, and hopefully for you guys as you watch us throughout the season. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.